Which Wisconsin team is the most frustrating? The Brewers and their cheapness, Packers and their drama, or Badger basketball because they're boring as sin. Now, I was going to throw Aaron Rodgers on there because he's in an orbit all of himself, but that's fine.
But I feel like that ties into the Packers. That
certainly does. That's part of the drama.
That's fair. So we'll leave it at that. And right now, the Packers drama is number one. I would vote the Brewers on here, 844-770-3776. Drama, that's not all on the Packers. It's not all on Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of there's a pie chart of blame there for the Packers.
Ayahuasca.
Badger basketball, I mean, you can't, sometimes you can't fix boring. You recruit guys like Brad Davison. What are you expecting? This is not going to be an exciting
to be your star.
Right. Shout out to Marquette for winning last night. And then the Brewers, cheap. You can fix cheap because you can either sell or spend some money.
That's fair.
And Matt, you brought up a great point. I want you to elaborate on it. $750,000. That's such a small number when we're talking. I think it was like maybe 10.25 and 11 million or whatever it was. Like,
yeah, it's like a drop in the bucket.
Right. And so it's not worth the aggravation if you're the Brewers of upsetting your star pitcher. But the Brewers, I think, have zero intention of ever paying Corbin Burns or Brandon Woodruff money long term. So they don't care if they burn this bridge. They want to pinch their pennies now.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand saving money so then you can pay the next guy. But at the end of the day, like, the Brewers aren't showing fans that they even care to win. Like, you have greatness on your bench. You have greatness in your pitcher's locker room. Like, why are you not going to just spend a little bit more there? You see all these NFL teams, and I know it's not apples to apples, like they're different, but all these NFL teams, especially when you point out the
who's getting
like the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs had 9 significant starters on their Super Bowl team. Like, why can't the Brewers go ahead and bring people up through their system? They already have people on contract. There's no reason that, like, they can't still make it happen with a squad outside of pinching pennies for your superstars. You can pay them whatever you want.
At last I looked this offseason, the Brewers are number one with a bullet as far as the least amount of money spent this offseason on free agent players as well. They got, I think, 3 or 4 months into the offseason without spending a nickel on free agent players. So your point holds weight here. But Matt, and again, 844-770-3776, you can chime in here. Which sports franchise in Wisconsin right now or organization bothers you the most? The Green Bay Packers, their drama, Badger basketball because they're boring, or the Brewers because they are cheap. And Corbin Burns, really, as much as Matt, you're obviously a current player, it's not the same situation, but
right.
You're usually, if you're going to go scorched earth, then this is as close as you're going to get to from a professional player.
There's no denying that the relationship is definitely hurt from
our relationships hurt now,
what transpired over the last couple of weeks. There's really no way getting around that. Obviously, we're professionals, and we're going to go out there and do our job, and I'm going to keep giving what I can every fifth day that I go out there. But when some of the things that are said that, for instance, basically put me in the forefront of the reason why we didn't make the postseason last year. That's something that probably doesn't need to be said. You can go about a hearing without having to do that. So that's kind of one of those things that, obviously, there was no attacking of character, of person of who I was, but just the some of the stuff that was said that definitely didn't need to be said is something that I think kind of disappointed everyone.
So my whole thing, like, if someone's telling me, like, here's the points where you lost it for us and you didn't do well, like he said, they didn't attack his character. Good.
Right.
Thank you for not, like, really
decent.
pouring gasoline on the fire. But I'm going to be honest with you. If someone told me that and then another team was like, hey, we'll give you $10.25 million to come play for us, I'm just going to go. And it's the same kind of thing that the Packers did with Devontae Adams. They basically strung him along until he got an offer from the Raiders. And then we're like, well, we offered him the same thing. It's like, yeah, after you disrespected the guy. And that is exactly what these Brewers are doing. Corbin might take less. He might go somewhere for $10 million just because he's like, you know what? At least this team is pretending to want to woo me. Because these guys, I know it's arbitration. I know you're pinching pennies, but you burned a bridge. I don't want to play for you anymore if you're going to, like, come at me like that. So I 100% get it.
844-770-3776. That's the talking text line. Who frustrates you more, the Brewers for being cheap, the Packers for their drama, or the Badgers for their boringness?
Yeah, so I voted on this already.
Yeah.
And as much as this Brewers thing bothers me, and as much as it's like super fresh in the head, it's the Packers. Here's the reason. Badger basketball, all I've ever known is boring basketball. That's fine. Brewers being cheap, all I've ever been told, regardless of the case or not, we're a small market team. We can't afford good players. So I don't get it, but it's so ingrained that I'm like, oh, surprise, surprise. The Packers always, we've had the golden ticket for 30 years in a franchise quarterback good enough to win you a Super Bowl. And there's proof that both of them have done it, obviously. So it just bothers me that there's like issues all the time. Like the whole Devontae thing got me. Like, I understand this Rodgers thing. Will he, won't he? I understand that Rodgers doesn't know what he wants necessarily yet. And the Packers, they've already forced somebody out. They have made that mistake before. And when he came back to Minnesota, it burned him. So I understand where they're coming from, but it's so taxing and draining because it feels like everything that is said by either side is scrutinized under a microscope to the point where who knows what's actually true anymore, because both teams are trying to put the ball in the other guy's court. They're like, no, you look bad. No, I want you to look bad. You make a decision. No, you make a decision. It's bananas to me at the way that, every word that is said by the Packers organization or Aaron Rodgers is just dialed. Even if it has nothing to do with the other guy, it will be spun that way. And that's just frustrating.
Also, look, everyone cares far more about the Packers than they do about the Brewers and Badgers combined, which is obviously the biggest part of this. The Brewers payroll is, I think, 20th in Major League Baseball at $103 million.
That's by choice.
Right. And that includes this latest deal here. Now, Corbin Burns, you're right. After this year, and this is the problem, the Brewers have no interest in paying Burns going forward. I honestly think there's a less than 0% chance Burns finished the season with the Brewers because
less than zero.
He is so he did arbitration this year, 2023. He is an unrestricted free agent in 2025. So now's the time to move him.
Yep.
And
they want to get something for him
because they waited on Hader.
Exactly what they do with Hader. Yeah,
exactly. And so that's why they don't care. And that's
and the thing is, we're still going to show up to grill our brats in the parking lot and drink our beers. And that's exactly the reason. They're like, fill the stadium. Don't care if we are a 500 team or we just sneak into the playoffs as long as that stadium's full.
And I've had this theory for a while, and I've shared it with you guys. The Brewers owners are running the Brewers like the Cubs old owners used to run it. Lovable losers. Because why? Wrigley always filled. So they didn't care. You don't have to win. Just be competitive and entertaining, and people will show up in AmFam Field and drink their Coors Light. It doesn't matter. Or their Miller Lite. They're going to show up. They're going to party. They're going to tailgate. And the Brewers know that, and they take advantage of it. They're taking advantage of their fans. They do it regularly, and it's annoying. The Brewers, because of their cheap ownership, have turned into lovable losers.
Yeah, and they're just hoping that this squad that they could get together affordably can catch lightning in a bottle. Because we've had good teams that have made the playoffs, gotten into the playoffs. Like, a ways. I think we lost to the Dodgers a couple years ago. And
they were the number one seed. I think Yelich was the MVP, and the Brewers didn't get to the World Series. They lost in the championship series.
Yeah, but it wasn't, and it wasn't necessarily because
none of those guys getting paid.
Yeah, it's like, and they didn't decide to go out and get anyone else.
Right.
They're like, well, if this team can do it, great. And if they can't, we got an extra half a postseason of tickets to sell.
Exactly.
So it's like making the postseason, instead of it being a goal for the Brewers like it is for the Packers, it's like a bonus. And that's what frustrates me with the Brewers.
Ryan and Madison chimes in. The Bears and the Badgers apparently frustrated the most. I guess you can vote in your own too, as far as what.
Go ahead. Write in your own. If you want to write in Jim Rutledge, go for it.
Team Schuster. Very frustrating.
Exactly. I agree.
But with the Brewers, and to your point, they don't pay their players, so there's less bites at the apple. So again, you're out and you're competing. The more tournaments you compete in, the more bites you have at the apple to be the best you can when nationals roll around. And anything else, Packers, The frustration with the Packers is different than the Brewers. If you're just looking on the field, they had bites at the apple over and over again. So they did just enough. They didn't go all the way, but they did enough where they at least were always getting bites at the apple. They had an opportunity to, I guess how this metaphor finishes, finish the apple, but they didn't. They didn't go all the way in to be able to have everything they need to finish the apple. The Brewers have no interest. They just want to find the cheapest way to get close to the apple to make people go show up at AmFam Field. And that's it.
And that, I mean, honestly, that's what there's part of the reasons the Packers are endearing is because every year we know the goal is at least to make the playoffs. Like, we love to win the division and we'd love to make the playoffs. That is kind of the 1A, 1B goal for the Packers. And I don't get that vibe from the Brewers at all. It's more of like here's our team. Let's see what we got. Like, how do they stack up against the rest of the MLB?
I tease my brother, who's a diehard Brewer fan. Every year I say, congratulations on winning the Budget Olympics. Like, you did the most with your money and you came in second place.
Yeah. With the money you were willing to spend.
Yes.
You're like that person that goes to Vegas hoping to win it big, but you're only playing the penny slots and you will not go over 1 penny per spin.
You know what?
That's them.
Winners, though, go to Ho Chunk Game in Madison. Don't play the penny slots there. Play the big slots so you can go be a big winner at Ho Chunk Game in Madison.
Yeah, like my little sister. She was out at Ho Chunk the other day, fresh off a national championship win. Mini jackpot.
Which one does she have here about? I'm kidding. Obviously,
I'm going to be honest with you. The mini jackpot paid out better than the national championship did. There's no blinking lights and dinging sounds when we won the national. So I can't speak for her, but I'm pretty sure that was a nice little added bonus because she's a winner and she goes to Ho Chunk.
Well, you've won there too. Is there a little jealousy now to go try to up her win?
Yeah, she like quintupled what I won. So
at least she's going to buy you a Coors Light, right?
We'll see.
This is Rutledge and Hamilton, presented by Coors Light.
You're listening to Rutledge and Hamilton, presented by Coors Light. Miss any of the show? Find full show podcasts free on Wisconsin On Demand and wherever you get your podcasts.